Okay, month five. And again, all the while you're adding in these new pieces, you're still keeping your daily practice up and going, your 1 hour a day minimum. Okay. And make that 1 hour a day like, um, as impactful as you can make it. Okay. And you can do more, but you don't have to require yourself to do more, I would say, but make sure that you're keeping up that hour a day throughout this 5 months. Okay, moving into month five. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. This is where you really have the ability now to explore your style. You should know at this point what materials you respond to most. Like, are you going to go all in on oils? Are you going on acrylic, pastel, watercolor? Maybe it's some form of clay or sculpture, or pen and ink versus graphite. If you're a draftsman, or if that's really what you're responding to. So you should know that by now, what you're going to commit more of your time and energy to. Okay, and because in month four, you've done this deep dive into art history and also contemporary artists, you also should have an idea of like what you want to create. So in month five, you're going to explore your personal artistic style on a deeper level. I want you to play with different subject matter. Okay, so maybe that is drawing portraits or figures, trying your hand at still life, perhaps. Like, that's what I ended up landing on. And I never knew that that was a thing I was going to end up painting. I really didn't. I really thought in the beginning I was going to be a portrait artist, or a figure draftsman, or maybe even sculpture is what I thought in the very beginning. So it's important that you do give other genres and subjects a chance. So try landscape, try abstract art, perhaps. Try florals. Not you can try lots of different genres. The other thing I want you to explore in month five is different processes or techniques, right? So within each medium, there are so many different ways to apply that medium, so many different processes, ways to go about doing it. So for example, with oils, I somebody like me paints wet into wet, alla prima is what they call it. But that's not the only way to work with oils, right? Same, could also be like, I prefer to set things up from life, or to work from life, like actually go to the landscape and paint from that landscape. But that's not the only way to go about doing it, right? So if that doesn't work for you, maybe what works for you better is working from a photo. Maybe what works for you better is working out of your imagination, depending on, what you want to create. Maybe what works for you better is doing a whole bunch of little miniature studies, and then, taking those ideas and picking and choosing from those ideas. Okay, so there can be a lot of different processes that you can explore in this month. I would say, just set aside some time in month five to research different processes, maybe watch YouTube videos on them, and just kind of see like what stands out to you that you want to really take some time to practice in month five. And I would pick at least, a few different kinds of processes. This was something I was exposed to right away whenever I did commit to going to art school. And I found out really quickly, like, hey, I really respond to this way of working. I don't respond to this way of working. That's important. Okay. So those techniques, those processes. I want you to continue to analyze. You're going to keep that art history and contemporary artist study alive throughout month five, right? I want you to analyze your favorite pieces, both the pieces that you create and also pieces that you respond to. Not always do the two coincide. So I want you to analyze both of those, your favorite works. Okay, and find any common themes behind them. I have a whole course on finding your artistic voice on my website, artlifewithkelli.com. If you're interested in that, that goes deeper into this subject. So you can click the link to my website. You can buy that course directly off the website as well. But this is a very important part of the process. Sometimes you might, create work that is really fulfilling to you that seems different than the master artist that you have, that you've responded to and loved. So you want to look for common themes there, and you want to analyze your own work at this point and really think about, yeah, why do I really like that piece that I created, or that drawing, or was there something about the process that really spoke to me, or the experience of creating it, or the subject that really lit me up. So these are all keys into understanding your own personal style. Okay, month 6, you're halfway through at this point. I recommend you save this video if you forget and you want to go month by month and re-listen to just each piece month by month. You're in month 6, halfway point. Yay, I'm celebrating you. This is the month of confidence. Okay, you've really committed yourself to 6 months. That is a big freaking deal. Not everybody will do that. Not everybody will show up for 6 months and stay the course and believe in themselves for that long and commit themselves for that long. So month 6 is a month of confidence. Confidence comes from the courage to complete. So you are going to start, now you're moving out of the practice mode, okay? And I want you to focus on completing your pieces, right? I'm going to say, if you really, 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 if you really want to become a professional artist in 1 year time, you need to be completing at least 2 minimum paintings, drawings that you would exhibit, for example, not just, like sketches or studies. You need to have 2 completed works a week. Okay, so at least 2. That's 8 for the month. If you want to do more, then definitely do more. You're going to keep up your 1 hour a day practice, and that can also, of course, be feeding your 2 completed weeks. That can turn into 1 hour of no longer practice, but putting time into your completed works. Okay, so you're also going to build confidence. You're going to let the cat out of the bag, right? You're going to come out of the closet as an artist. If you have been, scared to kind of let people know what you're doing, what you're up to, now is the time to start to let that out into the open. Now, in the beginning, I would just say you're probably still a little bit sensitive. If you're anything like I was, you're probably still sensitive to criticism. You really still need a lot of support at this time. And so I want you to just find some allies, some people that believe in you, want the best for you, want you to be happy, whether this is your partner, with your children, your parents, maybe you have some really close friends or siblings. And you're going to let them know what you're up to if you've been keeping it private up until now. Part of confidence too in month 6 is to celebrate, right? If we're only focusing on where we're missing the mark, or how bad we think our artwork is by this point, see, who was I kidding? I was fooling myself. I'm never going to make it. Blah, blah, blah. All that inner criticism, I want you to swap out that inner critic for the inner celebrator, the inner cheerleader. Ignite your own inner cheerleader in month 6. Please, please do this. I know that it's hard work. It is hard work to do this, especially if you are anything like I was and you have a super strong inner critic. You're going to have to, silence that inner critic and turn on your inner cheerleader for yourself and celebrate the prior 6 months. Okay. You may even just put out all of your work. This is something I did after my first year of art school, and My partner really encouraged me to do this. Thank goodness he did. But I just put out everything I had created that I haven't thrown away. I recommend you don't throw anything away, by the way. Please keep it, even if it feels just so horrible and a disaster, and you never want to look at it again and it makes you cringe. Please hold on to it for at least this first year. After a year's time, you can decide if any of those you want to toss out. Okay. Month 7, moving into month 7, you want to expand your skills. Okay. You've been showing up, you've been completing work. You're going to analyze for any weak spots in month 7. This may also involve getting feedback from people that you trust that are not just going to totally tear you down, right? Whether that's a teacher or a mentor, if you can't quickly identify what your weak spots are, ask for those weak spots. This is not a criticism. This is identifying where you need to improve. Okay. If you really want to up your game in your skill set, whatever that weak spot is, right? For some artists, they're really good at drawing, but when it comes to painting, they don't understand color, right? Or maybe a weak spot for you is you want to be more painterly. You're too tight. You want to loosen up, right? Maybe a weak spot is composition. That was definitely one for me with still life. I find still life was, even though I loved it, it was the hardest I felt when it came to understanding composition, because you have to arrange everything yourself, right? And that is a skill set. So identifying what do you feel is the weakest, what's a weak spot that I would also say is going to make the most difference if you were to improve it. So those two things combined, I wouldn't recommend just like making a list of, and not everything can be weak. Give me a break, okay? You have some strength in your skill set. So don't pull that baloney macaroni on yourself or on me. I don't want to see a list of, oh, my drawing sucks, my color sucks, my values suck. No, okay? To identify 1 to 3 weak spots, and then really look at like, which one do I think would make the most difference in my work, would really strengthen my work the most. Okay. And you're going to set aside time for intentional practice in this area. And you're also going to take a course in this area. Okay. So if you're wanting to become more painterly, you're going to find an instructor who is painterly, right? And you're going to study how are they painterly? What's their process? What's their technique? Is this a mindset thing I need to shift, or is it a process thing I need to shift? And you're going to begin to do intentional practice to improve that area. For example, if it's composition, right? You're going to get books on composition and design. You're going to start analyzing compositions in your subject matter that you work in, whether it's landscape or still life or portraiture or whatever. You're going to do a deep dive into studying that this month, right? In month 7. And you're going to make sure that you're intentionally practicing, improving that, doing your homework, making sure that that is your primary focus whenever you go to the sketchbook, the easel, the sculpture stand, whatever it may be.